Annie Mac, welcome.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
So, this is unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Plus, there's no glass between us.
You better explain
You're
that,
real.
Pete. They might know what you mean.
I think the first thing would be interesting, because we've been trying to get you over here for a few years, is just to fill us in a bit about your kind of background story of how you ended up being who you are professionally, and how you got into this whole wacky world of DJing and electronics.
Okay, so I never aspired as a young lady to be a DJ in terms of a club DJ. It was always radio for me. That was my first passion as a kid. And that was because I grew up in the south of Ireland, which is notoriously shite for youth radio. There is none. That's any good. So then I moved to Belfast and went to college there, and I heard BBC Radio 1 for the first time. And that's where I heard Mary Ann Hobbs, people like yourself, all playing really exciting music that I just couldn't get over, and I used to record it on my mini disc player and then go and try and find all the tunes. So it was radio, and then I kind of pursued a career in radio and got into Radio 1 eventually. I won't go into the finer details of that, but got in as assistant producer. So I was making tea for Steve Lamack at the start. Made tea for Zane Lowe as well. Worked behind the scenes.
Never made tea for me.
Never made tea for you, Pete. So for 2 years I made tea. I did more than make tea, but yeah, I learned the ropes, and I was lucky because I worked with 3 different DJs in that time: Steve Lamack, Colin Murray, and Zane Lowe, and they're all really different. One's really journalistic, one's really wacky, one's a proper musician, and it was interesting, and I learned so much off them, and I'm so grateful for that time because it taught me a lot about how I wanted to be a broadcaster. And then I mean, I DJ'd, but like I DJ'd in the basement of this club in Camden, so I played everything, like hip hop, punk rock, dance, everything. And Ian Parkinson, remember him? He was an editor at Radio 1. They were looking for someone to front a new dance show. And I guess at the time on Radio 1, there was a lot of dance shows, but it was quite compartmentalized. So you played house music mainly. There was the Dream Team, they played garage. There was Fabian Grooverider, who played jungle. And everything was kind of quite boxed. So they wanted someone to do an electronic music show that would encompass all of those things. And they asked me.
You identified quite early on then, when you were a fan listening, that you kind of specialising was what you wanted, you were comfortable doing. You didn't want to be a pop music daytime DJ.
No, it was always about music and kind of alternative music that I liked and was excited by. So I never aspired really to do daytime. There was some that, like maybe a daytime show where you actually had a choice of what you played. That was, you know, something that I wouldn't have said no to. But now that I've kind of been doing radio for nearly 10 years, I'm so happy in my lot because I feel really privileged to be able to have complete autonomy over what I play. And as you know, it's very rare in these days in radio to have that.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big eye-opener for me as a kid, first going up to Radio 1. And I just assumed you did pick your own music, but
yeah.
It became apparent you didn't. So come on, in Ireland though, were you going out in Northern Ireland? You must have had a crazy period. What were there some early DJ heroes or clubs you were hanging out at? Misbehaving?
In Belfast, which is a city I've since fallen in love with so much. I kind of did most of my growing up there, and I got most of my education about electronic music there. I started working in this nightclub called Shine, which is still one of the major clubs in Northern Ireland, just stamping people in on the door. And then I got the esteemed job of standing at the door of the VIP area, making sure people didn't go back in there. So I was lucky enough to be able to sit on a stool right underneath the DJ booth and just watch. And they had the best people come and play for them. You know, they had their residents were Andy Weatherall, Stuart Anord from Slam in Scotland. They had Kashmir come and play all the time, Laurent Garnier. So I got an education in techno and house.
Who's your favourite?
Who was my favourite? Well, I remember like the kind of epiphanal moment for me was sitting having had a really, really bad cold and flu and just not wanting to be there, and watching DJ Sneak play. And, you know, sometimes you have those memories that are just so vivid, you can remember every second. And he dropped Armand van Helden, You Don't Know Me. And I remember seeing the whole crowd just kind of, you know, en masse, just kind of the energy rise. And I just remember thinking, okay, I think I might want to do what he does. It's just incredible to see the power that a DJ has over a crowd and how they can move people like that. So DJ Sneak, that set was definitely something I'll never forget.
Was it fair to say that your kind of female role models were more from the world of radio then?
Well, there was not really any female DJs to look up to. I never saw any play it shine, that's for sure. I know there was some in drum and bass, like Storm and Sister Bliss. It's probably about it.
Miss Kitten.
Miss Kitten, yeah.
Do you think that's still an issue today? That there aren't enough female DJs?
Yeah.
You get asked that question a lot?
Yeah, and I kind of, you know, look forward to the day when I don't get asked that question, just because it would be nice for it to not be an issue anymore, but I understand that it really is. And even when you're driving around Ibiza today, like that big billboard for Ushuaia opening party is just 9 men, and it's quite powerful when you see it like
sweaty.
that. Yeah, 9 men, lots of them with receding hair. It's just that billboard. I don't know. So I think.
What would it take to change that?
I think it's just a matter of more women doing it, you know, and having role models. And, you know, the reason why I wanted to get into radio, the reason why I thought that it was something that I could feasibly do is because I had a female role model, Marianne Hobbs. She's who I looked up to. She's who I wanted to emulate. She's who I thought was the coolest woman in the world. And I think the more women there are out doing DJing, like fronting crowds, the more women will do it. And it's happening slowly at a steady pace in house and techno, not as much in other genres, but I think it will keep happening.
You watching what's happening with Nervo, not so much in the UK maybe, but from the rest of the world.
That's great.
Breaking down barriers.
It's really important.
I mean, the one shining light in all of that is actually Radio 1, because they've always had a kind of commitment in that way. And now, obviously, with Heidi, B-Traits, with Monkey. Do you think you've had an influence on that recently? Have they come to you and said, Annie, what do you think of these?
Well,
they used to do that to me.
Yeah, I'd like to think, you know, it's just, sometimes having an influence is just being there. It's just being there and doing what you do and making it normal for a woman to be being there and doing that and not making it an issue. You know, I know they were thinking about taking more people on. Monkey is someone who I've championed personally. She's a resident for my AMP events and has been for years. Yeah, maybe they took that from that, I don't know.
We'll come back to your personal life a bit. You obviously recently had a child.
Yes, I did.
Congratulations in public.
Thank you.
How has that affected you as well? Because that's the other thing. I mean, it's hard enough being married to a DJ or partnering a DJ, but you're actually partnering another DJ as well, so...
Yeah. Well, when I was pregnant, we kind of talked about it and we were trying to figure out logistics. And I was like, the problem is with us is that, you know, you can't send your child to nursery at 10 p.m. on a Friday night till 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning. It just doesn't work. And that's our work hours. So...
Just start one, shouldn't we?
Yeah, a nocturnal nursery. But we figured it out. We have to be really, really organised. We have to plan ahead a lot, as you probably know, being a father. And it works. But I'm, you know, the same as any other working mother out there. And I think it's just something that you get on with in the same way that, you know, you're a father, you've got on with it. You just get on with it. It's okay.
I'm just saying, you've got another DJ in the house there.
Yeah. Well, what you have to do is we have diary meetings, which is quite interesting, as you can imagine.
Do you have DJ battles?
No, we have diary meetings, and we have battles over who gets to do which gig. So it's kind of like, well, I've got this gig, yeah, but I've got this gig. And, yeah, well, that one gig's better, and I haven't played there for ages, and then blah, blah. But we're getting better at having a kind of childcare network now, so we can both play our gigs.
Have you been, I mean, the most common way, like 99% of people now to get into our world, they would have to make music. You didn't do that. Have you been tempted into the studio to make music, or at least remix?
I really enjoy music, and I grew up in a musical family, playing the guitar, playing the mandolin, let's not talk about that, playing the piano, and various, you know, traditional instruments and normal instruments. So I love playing music. I love making music, the process of making music. I did think about it for a while, and then I tried to learn Logic and don't have the patience, basically. Cannot spend 2 days honing the sound of a hi-hat. Not that woman. So I think I would have to be one of those people that work with an engineer, and I know obviously that's common practice these days. I don't know. I struggle with it all the time, Pete. It's something I'd like to do in a really self-indulgent way, go into a studio for a month and see what I come up with. But the other thing is I don't know what kind of music to make, because I like all types of music.
I was going to say, yeah, you big champion, obviously, of dubstep and drum and bass as well.
Yeah.
How do you feel about those genres right now?
Great. Well, dubstep,
yeah.
It's kind of, it imploded in a massive way. I really didn't like where it went, though. I never really embraced that kind of tear-out, aggressive sound of it. I wasn't a fan of that, and I got a lot of pressure to play that and to support that music, and I just didn't like it. So again, luckily in my job, I wasn't made to. I was able to just, kind of sidestep it. And yeah.
And a question I know a lot of people in this room want to ask you is how do you discover new music? Because everyone wants to get you music. So do you listen to it all yourself? Do you get someone to help you? What are the other ways you discover music aside from what's given to you?
You just have to have time, and as you know, it's harder and harder to find that time. I do it in the very much traditional way, where I get sent, I don't know how many records a week, and I trawl through them and trawl through my promos and have about 52 tabs open on my browser at any given time, mostly with SoundCloud links to listen to. I don't have anyone to help me yet, but I think realistically it might have to happen soon, because it's just coming more and more and more and more. And as the promos have become digital, there's even more. I don't know, it just feels like, an unstoppable force of new music. And I feel responsible that I should listen to all that. And I feel like I need to, it's my job. So I just have to, get a really good support network and make sure that I cover it.
Do you think you get, I do, and that's why I bring it up, but do you think you get caught out sometimes when we all listen to music digitally now, often with earbuds, in the gym, on your laptop traveling, that you don't get that full sonic experience necessarily of the old days of playing a vinyl, even at home on a big sound system? Do you find you miss things sometimes because you walk into a club, see someone else play something, and it's like, oh my God,
sounds great.
I had that 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've never thought about it that way, the difference of how you listen affecting whether you miss out on stuff. Sometimes I just miss out on stuff because I listen and I didn't think it was very good. And then I hear someone else play it and I'm like, God, it's kind of different. Like when you hear a track on a laptop and then you hear a track in the radio studio, I always say that it sounds different on the radio for some reason, and I can't equate why or how that is the way, but sometimes I say to pluggers, let me just play it once on the radio and see how it sounds, because it does sound different sometimes.
Especially at that time of night as well.
Yeah.
So you're here filming. I notice you've got cameras following you around. You're not making your life story. What are you up to?
It's too early for that. So what I'm doing is I've got a brand, as you know, called AMP, which stands for Animac Presents, and in that brand I've done all sorts of things, mainly events and compilations up to now. But one of the things that I want to do in future is maybe make television, and it's a road that I haven't really gone down yet in any other capacity than as a presenter. But I wanted to see what it was like to actually make films. So I thought it was good to start in an area that I know, that I'm hopefully trusted in. So I'm doing a series for Channel 4 called Superstar DJs with Annie Mac, and it's me profiling 5 different DJs. And then we do a kind of 1-hour documentary as also kind of about the last 10 years of dance music, because I've been at Radio 1 for 10 years in July, which is kind of scary, but we thought that's a nice thing to ring around, kind of look back at the last 10 years of dance, and it's not really been profiled on television, I don't think, in that way.
You've been doing this for a while now, because I remember you running around in Miami a couple of years ago, so this hasn't been easy. You've been knocking down doors.
Yeah, well, it's like I'm learning so much, and I love learning, and I think that's what keeps you going and keeps you ticking is learning new things. So that's why I wanted to get into telly, and the first thing I've learned is it's a bitch to get funding. It's so hard. So we made this show 2 years ago with Tiesto, which was a pilot, which you featured in. And since then, we've been trying to get funding to put it on Channel 4.
It's a great side story. There was like, I got a message one day from some friends like, I don't know what's happened to Annie Mac, but she's flying around on private jets with Tiesto. Have you know anything about that? It's like,
Pete was like, are you going out with Tice? No.
Before she had a boyfriend.
Yeah. So
I think we got a trailer to show.
Yeah, we do. So this is basically a tiny little, very rough synopsis of what we've filmed so far. So take it away. Ever wonder what it's like to be a superstar DJ?
To travel the world, live the dream, be treated like a demigod?
There must have been 15 private jets, all with DJs' names on. Swedish House Mafia, 3 planes.
This series is a real insight into the cultural phenomenon of the DJ today. That is my DJ set. We're going to be following the likes of Tiesto.
You love Vegas. I love Vegas. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I miss the Vegas.
Seth Troxler.
I also had crazy leg problems. I went to the doctor. I was like, doctor, what's happening?
Diplo.
I'm doing Ultra. Boats, come on. This is Diplo.
Disclosure.
A little bit nervous for Howard.
Oh, I feel awful.
You did great. And Fatboy Slim.
Very important pre-match warm-up.
We're going to be going behind the velvet rope.
This is my office.
It actually is your office. Giving you real access to the lives of these DJs and what they have to go through to get that success. Hi, girls. Hi. Hi, Erin. Merit. Merit and Ed.
Looks good. Congratulations. Oi. Looks good.
Yeah, I think it was...
It's come on a bit.
Yeah, I know. It was important to get a really good variety of DJs. I think, you know, just to get kind of 5 big EDM stars would have been quite linear. So we wanted to get your Seth Troxlers in there, you know, and people like Disclosure, Diplo, who really represents where America's at right now. So I'm really happy with the variety, and I think I hope it will be really good. Yeah, I hope people like it.
What have you learnt following these guys around? Is there any particular thing that's surprised you, shocked you?
Yeah, I just think that you know,
appalled you.
You really have to be a certain type of person to be a DJ at that level. You know, at your level of Tiesto or Diplo. It's a genuinely nomadic lifestyle. You know, one thing we learned from the first pilot with Tiesto was that, you know, he owns homes, but he doesn't live in them. He lives in hotels all year. Since then, he has lived in a house, by the way, in New York. But there was this big kind of quote that went round of me going, Tiesto's homeless, which isn't true. He has homes. He just doesn't have time to live in them.
I know he's got an apartment here. I tried to borrow it off him, but he put his mum in there. He said he'd never been in there.
Yeah, that kind of says it all. So I think you do have to be, you know, really, really dedicated to your craft. And I've struggled personally over the years, kind of, because it's so relentlessly competitive, this world, and you can get really caught up in, oh my God, he's number 9 on the DJ fucking whatever list, you know, the greatest DJs, the world's biggest DJs. They've got more Facebook likes than them, and it's just exhausting. And I think you have to be really, really, really dedicated to this life as a DJ. And I applaud anyone who is, because I think you deserve the success you get at that level, because it's harder than it looks. It's lonely, it's long, you spend 80% of your time in lounges and lobbies and cars, and it's relentless.
How's it been with Disclosure? Because they were one of those ones that pretty much went from the bedroom to your show to what we see today, and there was almost nothing in between. So how are they handling it?
They're handling it well. Their schedule is ridiculous. You know, we went to San Francisco and saw them and caught them just doing, like, not even a big show for them, just a casual show in Berkeley in an 8,000 capacity amphitheater. They are huge in America, and we really wanted to catch how America is falling in love with them so quickly. So I'm glad that we got them over there.
Must make you proud, because that was one of the ones where they were literally 2 little boys walking in.
Yeah, you know, they're not little boys anymore. They've definitely grown up, but they're still, incredibly young, you know, when you put them up with the other people that we're profiling on this. The other thing about them is they're not, at the moment, strictly DJs, you know, they play live. So we had to kind of bend the rules a little.
Okay, you touched on Annie Mac Presents, which has been obviously before a huge hit. What are the plans for your shows and compilations?
They're still going, they're ongoing. AMP is something that has been going on for a long time, and I guess it started from a very self-indulgent place, which was me just wanting to have fun on the road and bring DJs with me so I wouldn't be so lonely on the train home the next day. So inevitably, as you know, and as most people here, you know, DJs know, there comes a point when the fun becomes a business, and you have to accept that you're a business person. And you know, if you want a long career, if you want to evolve and develop as a DJ, you have to be in tune with the business side of it. So kind of in my late 20s, I accepted that, and we've been working on it, and we started in Fabric Room 3. And we were very careful at the start to make sure that everything that we did was credible and consistently credible, and we've worked our way up slowly, hopefully in that way to gain trust from people, so they know that every time they come to see an AMP lineup, they know that it's going to be good quality, and hopefully they will walk away having seen someone they haven't seen before, learned something and had a good time. So we are doing all our stadiums, not Tiesto yet. We're doing our arenas at festivals, we're doing our compilations again, and
I mean, the last compilation had the Route 94 record on it, which
it did.
Ends up
being number
kind of
one.
almost changing the sound of Radio 1 as well, and going to number one. You've been tempted to run your own label or go into A&R?
Well, that was a real learning curve for me, because that was a record that was exclusive to our compilation. And what we try and do with the compilations is we, rather than just putting out the greatest hits of the year, we add some extra elements in, and they would be kind of 3 tracks that are completely exclusive to that compilation that you will hear there and there only. That exclusive deal wasn't actually that long, so what happened was, you know, the label then went and put it out, and it got to number one off the back of being on the comp. So it was really interesting for me to see how that whole process worked, and we are dealing with that.
I mean, did even you see that coming?
Absolutely not. No. If you had told me last year, I would not have believed you. I did not think that was the record to make it to number one.
And it's crazy, actually. It's now kind of the dominant sound of Radio 1. It's pretty, you know, Gorgon City.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally happy about that, because I think that music, you know, I guess it kind of started with Duke Dumont Need You. That was the first one that went to number one in a kind of unprecedented way. And I think that music is good music. And it makes me happy that that is becoming mainstream music. It's also made my job a lot easier with things like AMP, putting on events, because even doing compilations, because I always struggled with having to kind of compromise a little bit about putting the big hitters on the comp. But now the big hitters are the tracks that I've championed, and it doesn't feel like a compromise at all.
I mean, you're on the ground even more than I am in the UK now. How do you find it moving around now when you've got that sound so dominant, but you're still aware, obviously, of the EDM artists that are pretty big? How, you know, when at your gigs?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It feels like it's a whole different world, the EDM thing, especially traveling around America with this series, you know, seeing what it's like over there.
Do you ever think those acts like Route 94 or Gorgon City can make an impact in America, or?
Well, seeing what Disclosure are doing, I think so. And I think the interesting thing about what's happening over there is that the kids that have grown up with EDM over the last kind of 5 to 7 years are now kind of getting into their early to mid-20s, and they're looking for more, and they're looking to be a little bit more refined in their taste. So they're exploring labels, things like Dirty Bird, who've always been really underground over there, and now doing, you know, much better, playing all the hard events and that kind of thing. So I think what's interesting is that there will be a contingent of those EDM fans that will go out and find the deeper stuff, and I think that's really exciting for me.
Do you? Couple more things before we throw it over to the floor. So what's the next big thing?
I was going to ask you the same question, Pete. I have no idea.
Do you know, I've got to reveal something, actually, when I got my MBE, which was a very humbling experience, when I got to the front of the line, it was Prince William that day. That's what he asked me.
He said, what's next? What comes after House?
What's the next big thing? It's like, what do you say to Prince William when he asks you
what did you say?
I kind of stumbled it. I was like prepared for all these things he was going to ask me, because I had actually met him before, but I wasn't ready for that. So I was like, Beefer, America.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't say Sam Smith. I should have mentioned that.
Well, when it's the prince asking you that, that's a high pressure question.
Exactly.
But yeah, I just don't know. It would be really interesting to see. It was really interesting for me to see dubstep come and go so quickly. I've never seen a genre kind of explode and then implode so quickly, and kind of being part of it, I guess, as well. So now that I've been around a little bit longer, I guess I'm going to see that a lot more, and I guess that things come and go quicker as people consume music in a quicker way as well.
It kind of lives and breathes with artists now, like Diplo and Skrillex, but they're kind of almost the genre's them.
Yeah, so. I mean, Skrillex is really, really branched out in terms of what he makes, which is clever.
He'd be a good one for your next series, I think.
Yeah, I tried. He doesn't want to do it.
Tell us one final thing. Tell us something we don't know about you. Tell us a secret.
Oh God, Pete.
I
really like fishing.
Heat magazine question.
I really like fishing.
That's good. That's
I
good.
do.
That'll do for me.
I'm a big fan of fishing, sea fishing.
I thought at the IMS Engage we had Moby interviewing David Lynch, and it was the most random format of questions, and it was like they did 45 minutes like that, but it was much more difficult.
Yeah,
than the one I asked you.
Putting
And
each
I
other
thought
on the
I was
spot.
going to do that with you, but I spared you. So, any questions for Annie? I'm sure there's a few ladies in the house, particularly. No men with receding hairlines.
I mean, it was just that poster, I swear.
Hi, I'm Miriam from Off Your Face. I just wondered, I know you want to move away from the gender role and everything, but would you consider yourself a role model?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Would you consider yourself a role model now from what you've achieved?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just with the job that I have, 100%. And when I play gigs in the UK, there's always, and I get slagged off for my fellow male DJ peers, because there's always the front 2 rows are girls. And I think that they're there just because they're curious and delighted to see one of them DJing. So I think it's really important for me to be doing what I do, regardless of how I do it. If I'm awful, it's just important that I'm there.
Another question?
Hello. What advice will you give women to help them in the music system?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes. What advice would you give women to help them in the music business?
Who want to make it in the music business? The same advice I'd give men. Work hard, be passionate. Try not to use, for women, try not to use your boobs to get places, because you won't be taken seriously. Cover your chest when you're DJing. Be good at what you do.
You won't get a job with Seth Troxler then.
Yeah, yeah, isn't it? Big titty surprise. Is that his party? I think women. I'd like to think these days that people don't look at being a woman automatically as being a worse DJ than being a man, because so many successful female DJs disprove that. You might have to work a little bit harder to prove that you are capable, so make sure that you're good. That's all I'll say. Everything else applies, the same to men.
Another question for Annie? Got time for one more? Go on.
Hello. When you realized that you had become a brand, of course you thought about getting a manager first. Mm-hmm. When you got a manager, or the right manager, then how did you start building up all the media and marketing system to back up all the work that you need to do and carry on with your DJ and your gigs and your own life?
Well, I have quite a weird management system, but it really works for me, where my agent, the lady who booked all my gigs, became the person who manages all of my music and my music career. And we work in partnership together on everything. She's very much the business side of it. I am the kind of creative side of it. I have all these wacky ideas. She puts me in my place. And that's how we do it. But she has an assistant, and together they kind of are the cogs of AMP. So we have a really big emphasis on our online stuff. We give away free download every single Monday through our SoundCloud. So they help find that, they help kind of execute that. And then, yeah, like all the events, all the artwork, all the lineups, I will be the person that kind of gives them a list of names that I want, and then they will make that happen. So I kind of bring the musical side of it, the creative side, and then I guess they facilitate it, but also contribute creatively as well.
So, sorry,
okay.
Where would you invest first, in media, or maybe something like agents and...
As an aspiring DJ? Is that what you mean from that
perspective?
Perspective?
Or just becoming like more recognizable and more like you can focus more in your music and your projects and then the rest, and then media or management do the rest. So how could you balance?
I think I don't know, maybe you can help me with this as well, Pete. I think the most important thing is having the right team around you. So make sure that you have a manager that understands where you want to go and what you want to do. With media, there's, you know, you can invest for days in media. You can pay for all your Facebook posts to get seen. You can pay for YouTube views and all that. We don't do that. We try and make sure that all our output is consistently good quality. It's minimal. Everything that we do is minimal but good. And we've learned that over the years. We've had people that helped us with our online marketing. We had them for a bit, learned off them, got rid of them, now we do it ourselves. It's just about learning how the system works. So I would say the main thing is have a good manager, have someone who can get you gigs, hopefully, and then everything else will just kind of fall into place, hopefully.
Thank you.
Yeah, they won't solve all your problems. You've got to have it going on for yourself first, because I think sometimes people go to managers and agents and think, oh, now I've got them, I've made it, but it's not quite that simple. But okay, Annie Mac, fascinating chat. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Thank you.